I'm Auntie Chris Kelly. I live at Valor Beach. My family all come from the Wiradjuri area, and that's where my dad was born and raised.
Yeah, excellent. As I say, we're here to hear your story. So can you tell us a little bit about you growing up and your journey with education as you're growing up?
I'll probably start with the fact that my great-grandmother, she was born at Sutton Forest. My grandmother was born at Gundagai, and my dad was born at Cootamundra.
Spread out.
So they, all in the Wiradjuri area, Just to not go right into details, but Dad met Mum. Dad loved Mum. They moved to Sydney and had us kids. So our life was probably a little bit different for 5 years. From when I was about 4, we lived in a house with my mother's family, and there was 5 of us in the one bedroom. I thought that was completely normal growing up. And then when we finally did get a permanent place to live, I was pretty shocked that I couldn't sleep in the same room as my mum and dad anymore.
You just mentioned to us that a little bit about your family tree, starting from your great grandmother, and that was awesome. But you want to continue telling us a little bit about your family and how.
Yep. Well, my dad was one of 13. There's now only one of that family left. And I just wanted to put in here that my dad passed away at 46. And I looked at my husband, Uncle Larry. He had a triple bypass and lived another 25 years. And it often makes me wonder, if Dad had have had that, would he still have lived another 25 years? So I've got 2 brothers and 1 sister, and yeah.
So when you think about you growing up and out in Wiradjuri country, it was what was education like for you back then?
Well, the thing was, we were brought up in Sydney.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because off country. Yeah.
Well, Mum, off country because Mum didn't want to live at Cootamundra, like we've always been, not made, but we're always encouraged to go to school. And actually I liked school. It was a real social thing for me. So, and when I finished high school, which was in 1963, I only went to intermediate stage because Mum and Dad just couldn't afford for me to go on anymore, but I would have liked to have gone to higher education.
Yeah.
But, if I wanted to talk about what I've done over the years, it's just been, in my younger years, when my children were smaller, I worked at a community centre. I used to do playgroup and that for Aboriginal kids and whatever. When they went to school, I went more into office work.
Right.
And then when I moved up here 34 years ago, I started working at the Land Council at Nambucca Heads.
Yep.
And then Larry and I got married and we moved to Sydney and we worked at State Land Council. We both did training of the Aboriginal Land Rights Act around New South Wales. We did that for a few years. And then Uncle Larry wanted to come home, so we came home. And I got a job back with the Land Council again. And when I was working at State Land Council, I used to manage the Aboriginal Funeral Fund. So that was quite an intense job to have. And then, as I said, when I come home, I went back to the Land Council and I stayed there virtually till I retired. So,
while you were engaged in those managerial type positions, did you get any training in that?
All the time.
Yep.
All the time. We had training. Like, I actually trained as a property manager.
Oh, wow.
Which was really good. And as I said earlier, I cannot remember the name of the uni, but I know I graduated Swinburne.
Swinburne?
Yep. I graduated from Swinburne with that, yep. And so when I went back to the Land Council, then I actually took over their property management. And but all through the years, whatever trainings come up that would make me clearer in my role in the community, I've done. I did things like stress management. I think we all need that. And I'm not quite getting what I'm trying to think of, but when people are arguing and that, how you can manage that. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Dispute resolution.
Dispute resolution. Well, that came in very handy because a land council is a very savage place to work for.
Absolutely.
I mean,
yes.
it's a good job. You do a good thing with the people, but it's a savage job. Yeah. But yeah, but recently, in recent years, I'm now on the board of Nambarga Bindere Girawa, which is an Aboriginal corporation. And so there we are getting training, like whether it's with ORIC, about management, about our roles and responsibilities. So there's something all the time that you're needing to learn.
Absolutely.
Well, another thing too, I guess, I'm going to be working at the elections this Saturday.
Oh, wow.
And one of the things you had to do was do an exam. So you had a book and you had to read it and then answer questions. The first time I only got 8, and I thought, better do that again. And then the next time I thought, no, let's read it again and take it in and understand what I'm reading, which I did, and I got 9.3. So I passed. So there's always something we're learning.
Absolutely. And I think for all of our Mobbits, education has been a different journey for everybody.
Yep.
So at Southern Cross, you're also engaged with the elders there?
I am, yeah, and I thoroughly enjoy that. Uncle Larry was on that board, and when he passed away, they asked me would I take his place, and I was very honoured to do that. So, yep, I like it. I think the direction we're going right now is good. We just have to keep plugging along.
So, why? Can you talk to us a little bit about? You told me off camera that education is an important thing, and you want your kids to be educated and all of that sort of stuff. Can you talk to me a little bit about why education is important?
I think if I go back a step to my dad, he only went to 3rd class, so he wasn't illiterate, but he wasn't a real, educated person. But so he encouraged us too to finish school. Well, then when I had my kids, I could see the value of them getting education, that they could get a good job. My 2 boys have got excellent jobs. They're, So I think without education, they would never have been able to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, that's really important. That when we start to link the importance of education with being able to work and get good jobs.
Yep.
One of the things that when you talk to elders around the place, particularly where I'm from in Yuin country, we talk to the elders down there who were never given the opportunity for education. In fact, they were denied that.
Yep.
And they were only ever seen as manual labourers or doing menial type tasks.
Yep.
Education puts you in a different space.
Yep.
Doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So, is there anything that you would like to say to the young people who might be watching this about education?
I think we're all the same when it comes to school. We don't really want to be there, but I mean, as I said before, I enjoyed the social aspect of it. I had friends at school, and I just think it's important that these days, especially with work being as hard as it is to get, that an education is absolutely essential. Not to be able to read and write must be horrific. I can't imagine not being able to read. That's one of the things that Mum instilled in us all. We love reading. So, my dad, even he wasn't as educated, but even he used to read those paper Western books,
Oh.
He read them all the time, and I thought, good on you, Dad, at least he was reading.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't think you're ever too old to learn. There's always something, like I've had to learn to do a lot of different things since Larry passed away that I never thought I'd have to do. I know how to hammer this, and I know how to do that, and I know how to use a drill, but I mean, I had to read up on that. How do you do this? I haven't mastered everything, but I will. One day I will master everything,
Well, there's that old adage, if you stop learning, you're dead.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, I totally agree with that. Yep.
Yeah, so it's really important that we do, and as part of your role with the university eldership and that governance side of things, is to see that our knowledge is integrated properly.
Yep.
into the university systems.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really good.
Well, now that I've got grandchildren, I can see like the value of them having an education. They've, like they're all doing okay, but only because I believe that they've been educated.
And and young people today have access to education
Yep.
that people
Yep.
of your era didn't
No.
generally have,
No.
particularly in our mob.
Yep. Yeah.
Education was available, but it was denied.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I think-
Yeah, like as I said, like I finished at school at 15 and but I would have liked to have gone on, but I just know Mum and Dad could not afford it. They couldn't do it. There was 4 of us, so I mean I love to look at my youngest granddaughter now. She's only 7 and I love to see her sitting there with a book reading. I mean it just makes your heart get really happy that, she's loving to read. And why does she love to read? Because she goes to school and they let her learn how to read.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And when you get that skill young,
Yep.
you enjoy it.
Well, do you know they started a program in Nambucca Valley many years ago, probably over 25 years ago, was to introduce books into Aboriginal families' homes,
Yeah.
right? And the outcome of that was absolutely amazing. That was probably the smallest percent even had a book in their home. And I thought, well, that just shows that if the parents aren't educated, they're not going to be reading to their kids,
No.
and the kids are not going to read.
No.
But things have changed. I mean, now like kids do read and go to school more often, but there wasn't a book in the house, and that's sad.
And as you say, that's a sign of how people grew up back in the day.
Yep.
Without that type of education.
Yep.
They've got nothing. They haven't got that skill to pass on.
To pass on,
They
yeah.
have many other skills, but they don't have that skill.
Yep.
It's really important. Like, my father couldn't read, but he could do sums. He could do maths.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so he was a labourer his whole life, but he could
Yeah.
add and subtract and multiply and do all that sort of stuff in his head,
Yeah.
which he needed to be able to do for his job. But
Yeah.
so it's really important that the skills that we have
Yep.
need to be rounded, and education is the way that happens. Yeah. Good. So anything else that you would like to say?
No, I'm just would like to say that I'm a proud Wiradjuri woman, and I love living on Gumbenga land. I married a Gumbenga man, and I have been accepted in this community, and I ain't going nowhere. I like it very much. I love being here.
Excellent. And we love, as a guest here as well. That's great. We love you as part of our Ginibi Elders, and we hope that association continues to grow.
Thank you very much.